Welcome to the Wisdom Club podcast, where we talk to inspirational business leaders in our community that inspire us to lead a life full of wisdom and build a business as worthy of our wildest dreams. I'm your host, Leo Chen. I'm a tech entrepreneur, real estate advisor, and investor located right here in sunny coastal Orange County, California. And the goal of this podcast is to expand your mind and share what's possible. All right. Welcome to the Wisdom Club podcast live. You're joining us on Facebook. Just put the word live here, and so we know that you're watching live. I am super excited today. This has been a long time coming. We are all busy entrepreneurs, and I appreciate Cody May being here with us today. And a quick intro for you guys, in case you guys don't know who Cody is yet. Cody, aside from being a great friend of mine, is the CEO and the global marketing agency of Sheridan Street, co-founder of the Real Estate Growth Academy, a system that's designed to help real estate agents and teams attract leads, generate appointments, and get more deals under contract. And Cody is an expert at paid advertising, sales, and communication, and coaches entrepreneurs on these topics of anything real estate. And his mission is to help over 1 million entrepreneurs experience passion and exuberant energy in both their personal and professional lives. And he is the co-author of the Amazon's best-selling book, What If You Could, regarding mindset, business, and blueprint for your life and purpose. And he is the co-host of Studio PTBO Marketing Podcast and the Real Estate Agent Podcast. Cody's expertise has been featured in Thrive Global, Authority Magazine, Inverse, CHCH News, Ticker News, Australia, and many other prominent business publications. I can go on and on and on and on and on, but instead, I would love to chat with him and for you guys to get to know him. And he has a lot to share, in life and in business. Welcome, Cody.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Really excited to jam with you today. Try to provide as much value as I possibly can, but also just for us to have a conversation today. I'm excited. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, no, nothing better than a live conversation where we can just chat, no editing, no nothing, no fluff, right? And I think the most interesting at the moment here is that you are actually in Medellin, living kind of a double life or triple life, if you will. So tell us a little bit about that and how you got there.
Yeah, I've been in Medellin now for the last couple of weeks. I've kind of decided a year and a half ago that we were going to go completely digital nomad with our team. So we, in the pandemic, it kind of really opened up a lot more opportunity to kind of realize that I'm like, why am I here when I don't necessarily have to be in Peterborough? So I'm like, our office is located in Peterborough, Canada. And I just kind of I was talking to my mindset coach one day, and we had a conversation about possibilities and, opportunities and how everything really is endless. And I kind of made a decision that I was going to work on immigrating to the US, work on moving to LA. So I spent the last probably 5-6 months in LA. And now I'm just waiting on my visa stuff to kind of finalize so I could be there full time. But in the meantime, I've been to Medellin. I came back to Medellin. I love it here. Cartagena, I'm going to Buenos Aires next month. So it just it was a conversation I had with my mindset coach that kind of made me realize that I'm even though I felt like I was stuck in it just kind of made me realize that I could go and do whatever I want. I didn't have to be stationary in one place. And it kind of opened up the possibility where me and, my business partner, Vikram, kind of said well, what if we could just, and it's funny because we wrote a book called What If You Could, and it's I feel like I'm living that now. What if I could just pack up my stuff and just, travel across the country? I could. There's nothing really holding me back. I don't have to be in Peterborough. I love Peterborough, but I don't have to be there. And because of our jobs, we're able to kind of see more of the country. And next month I get to see a large portion of my team, which is in Argentina, Buenos Aires. So yeah, we're just traveling through life, enjoying life, hopping from country to country, seeing different cultures, getting a better grasp on on life. It's funny. The other day, my team said to me, they're like, "We really like Medellin, Cody. He's very relaxed." And I'm like, yeah, I just like, I don't know, I just like LA here. It's like they're, and this being like in Orange County, there's something different in the energy. There's something different in the water that way. And that's why I want to be there. But Medellin, because my 6 month stay in the US is up, this is the second best place I can be right now.
Yeah, sort of a forced vacation, I guess, right?
Yeah,
And
100%.
I was thinking about this quote recently, and I forget who I heard it from. But one decision in your life, one decision can change your whole entire life right now.
Totally.
One decision. And I've been asked a lot lately about my coaches, the coaches I've had, the coaches I have now, and the people that I'm around, and all that kind of stuff. And they ask me like, "Oh, what kind of coach do you have, and why do you need a coach?" And this is exactly that reason, right? Like they help you kind of open up your mind where you're stuck, like you think you should, stay in a certain place forever, right?
Totally.
And just that one thought, like, well, what if you could do this? Like, what would that look like? And then you start thinking about like, well, why am I stuck in here? It's like an open door cage, right?
Totally.
You stay in the
Yeah.
cage for however many years, and you bust yourself out because your brain says it's possible, not because the cage door is open, because your brain says that, right?
Yeah, it's all mindset. Like that's half the battle. Like I was doing an interview probably about 2.5 years ago with a CEO. His name is Brad Lee, and we were doing an interview, and he was talking about the 3 M's that like really help create change in a business or even in your personal life. And he like one was mindset, one was money, and one was the map. And like you said it so perfectly about coaches. It's like oftentimes like, especially if they've already been where you want to go. Like we share a mutual great friend and great mentor, Sharon. Like he has the map. Like he's already done what we're looking to do. Like he's been there. He has the experience. He has the knowledge. He has the map. So it's like, let's get around people that have the mindset. Like, half the battle again is the mindset. Like it's that belief in your ability to figure things out. And that was a big transitionary period for me and my agency, because when the pandemic hit, we were a video marketing company and we pivoted towards going all digital marketing because I had no choice. I lost all my clients overnight. All the video clients dried up because they're like, oh, we don't really want to do anything right now. It's like, plus with COVID protocols, they just weren't wanting to make a decision. So I had to pivot overnight, but luckily I went to a Brendan Burchard conference a month before. And I remember him so distinctly standing on stage saying like, believe in your ability to figure things out. And that I will never forget that moment, because that's what carried me through the pandemic, was my belief in my ability to figure things out. And you so perfectly said it. It's like mindset. It's like, that's really what mindset comes down to. It's like, just like belief in your ability to figure things out. You're not going to know everything all the time, but it's like, if you just don't stop believing in your ability to figure things out, you can pivot, you can find different ways to do things. And that's been a really big monumental portion of like, what we teach our clients, but also with like, what I live by. It's a belief I live by. I'm going to believe in my ability to figure things out.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Couldn't agree more on all of that stuff. And I want to just add, I was thinking about what you were saying, and with our mutual friend and mentor and coach, I look at it this way, and I'm grateful for it every night, because I sit down and I think about like, what can I do? And our ability is only limited by what we can think of. Our best mindset got us, here this far, but there's, so much road to go, so much higher, so much better that we could do, but our mindset could only imagine this, right?
Totally.
And I think of Sharon as someone who is like my second brain. Like he's at home in his home, sitting there at his desk or whatever every morning or in the evening or whatever, doing the thinking for us, right?
Totally.
And then he comes and say, here's what I thought about. And here's like, literally, can you imagine, like, not just, limited by only what you can come up with, but somebody else, also bringing in their perspective, what you never even thought of, and be able to be totally in line with what your path is. So that's what being around these people are totally like. And so I could not, be more grateful, because for up until, last few years, we were just kind of doing what we know, and that's it.
Totally.
And so now the whole entire door opens up. Just goes back to the quote, right? That one decision to get a coach, it's just changed everything.
Yeah.
So I know that a lot of my audience may not know who you are, and tell us your story, your upbringing, and kind of like what made you get from, from you're a little kid in Canada, and you can tell everybody where exactly that was. What
Yeah.
was your upbringing like? What were your parents like? Because, not everybody ends up here at your age at this time,
Yeah.
being building $1 million, in revenues, agency, and scale your team to, I don't even know how many now,
Yeah.
15, 20 plus. And then you're international, you're in the US, you're in Canada, you're now in South America. A lot of your, all of people that you connect with are all over the world. So how did that, kind of happen? Give us the kind of your evolvement, around this, because I'm sure everybody would love to be able to kind of duplicate that, because you're such a success story.
Yeah, like it's funny because like, there's ups and downs, and like you said it perfectly, and I would love to chat about those, because like, it's like no matter where we're at in business or life, like we face days and weeks. Like I remember texting, and I'll get into the backstory, but I remember texting Sharon 3 weeks ago being like, man, this is the worst week of business I ever had. And like, it's like, it's not easy. It's not like, there are days where when you're passionate about something, you're passionate about the stuff, like there's days you're going to cry. There's days you're going to, like want to quit. And there's days that like just suck. And there's sometimes they come in weeks and sometimes they come in seasons. And, I really felt like we were in a season. I feel like we're coming out of that season now, but, my story is interesting for me because like, there's been so many, I grew up in Chatham, Ontario. Amazing family. My parents were so supportive from day one about whatever I wanted to do. When I was a 60-year-old kid saying I want to be a professional golfer, they're like, you can do it. They always believed in me, and I think that level of belief kind of gave me belief in myself in order to do what I'm doing today. But I grew up in Chatham, Ontario. Great family, middle class. Like mom and dad are amazing. Have a really good relationship with both of them. Even better relationship with my dad than as a teenager, because sometimes like as a teenager, you just don't see eye to eye because you're just dumb. Like you're young and you're dumb. And, your parents want the best for you, but you just don't know how to effectively communicate how you're feeling, and they don't know how to effectively communicate how they're feeling. But that sense has been a lot better, and I'm really, really close with my family. When I was like 18, I got my first sales job at a company called Future Shop. It was like kind of subsidiary to Best Buy. It was all commission. It was owned by Best Buy, but it was the commission version of Best Buy. And I had a sales manager at 18. I'd never had a sales job, took me under his wing. I'm like, just teach me. I want to be the best possible salesperson out there. So teach me everything you know. And I would walk in with like a notepad, and I would just copy down everything he said in order to learn everything I could possibly learn about sales. And usually they do like 1 to 2 weeks of training. I was on the floor within a couple of days, and I was selling because like I was just so hungry, and like I wanted success. Whatever, like success then looked very different than success now, but I wanted to be the best possible version of myself, even at 18. And took 2 years off of school, and I just worked the sales job. I learned so much about sales. I had amazing mentors, amazing people at Future Shop, ever grateful for them. I still have them on LinkedIn, still have them on, a lot of them on Facebook. They were very pivotal mentors. I had one mentor, John Malango, who was at 18. He was the sales manager who took me under his wing and it's like, you're going to make a lot of money here. And I did. In like a couple of years, like as a 18-year-old kid, I made a lot of money in commission. I learned the art of persuasion. I learned the art of sales, even though at then I didn't really know what that was. But I did that for 2 years. And like at the end of the 2 years, I was like there, like, I think I got caught up in the, okay, now I did this, now I need to go to college to get a degree. And that I got caught in that belief system of like, if I want to really make it, I gotta go get a university degree. But I also had this feeling of like, I want to do something bigger than just sales. And I didn't know what that was. So I went to what I was comfortable with and what I knew. And I grew up in the church. So at 21, I decided to go to seminary. I decided to go to Bible college in order to study to become a pastor, specifically helping youth. Helping people that, and that's really, I think, looking back at it, like, and I've observed kind of like how I felt in the moment. It was really like, I just wanted to help people. And that's all I really knew. Like, that's all I knew. And because it's what I knew, it's what I went with. I got my 4-year degree in university. And on my last year, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. It wasn't super fulfilling. And I remember sitting down with a life coach who was actually like a professor at the college, at the university. And him asking me, he's like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, I kind of want to go into business, but I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't know how to go into business. He's like, what do you think you need to do? I'm like, I guess I need to go get a business degree. But that didn't spark me, because I'm like, I don't want to go back to school. I just finished 4 years. I mean, I got to go back and do another 4 years of school. I didn't want to do that. So I was still working at Future Shop, and then Future Shop turned to Best Buy, and I transitioned from Future Shop to Best Buy. They moved me into management, and I went on, and I'm like, this is the closest thing to business. I'll try to climb the corporate ladder. So I graduated, I started climbing the corporate ladder, and I had a crossroads again in 2018. It was the beginning of 2018. I had a crossroads. I'm like, I'm not happy here. Like, there has to be something more. I can't, and I started like doing freelancing work in 2017. I started realizing there was like, I'm like, oh, I can do marketing. I started learning more about marketing, and I was doing some freelancing. And then 2018 hit, and I looked at my QuickBooks account. Luckily, I had a good friend who was an accountant. I looked at my QuickBooks account, and I made triple the amount working part-time freelancing that I did at my salary job. And I was like, because I was working every day. I would work as a manager at Best Buy, and I would go home from like 6 to like 2 or 7 to midnight, or 7 to 2 a.m. in the morning, working on my passion project. And then my passion project, I was working so hard on it that like I had this epiphany one month where I'm like, oh, I just made more money here doing this than I did like at my salary job. And then I called up my manager about a week later, and I said, hey, like, it's like my district manager at the time. I called him up and I said, hey, like, it's time for me to leave. How long do you need me to stay in order to transition out my store? And he's like, can you give me a month to 2 months? And it took about a month. We found a new manager came into the store, took it over. I transitioned full-time into studio PTBO. And that in itself has that transition. We were a video marketing company. We were building websites in the beginning. We're doing anything just to make money. I worked with some large corporate brands, and earlier this year, just recently, over the last year, we've been working with a lot of real estate agents. So I rebranded the agency to Sheridan Street. And that's kind of how we got here to where we are today. It's been a journey of ups and downs. It's been a journey of crossroads. It's been a journey of a lot of tears at moments, and like, am I doing the right thing? But it's like I have my eyes set on like a larger vision, and that's kind of what's driving me daily.
Yeah. I love that story. A couple of things that really jumped out, at me. But first, I want to say, for those who just heard that, what Cody had just said, the tears, are really what drives us to be better, to say, hey, what can we do better? What went wrong? We need to just be able to self-correct ourselves. But two big things, out of that story is really, really made a big impact on me here just now, is that, say, number one, you were exposed to sales. And, I was exposed to sales late in life, for myself. You were exposed to it earlier in your life, and I wish I had was exposed to it earlier. My growing up was like, well, you go get a good job, you put your head down, you do your thing, you make a good salary, and just like all Asian parents, they want you to be a lawyer or a doctor, and spend 12 more years on top of the 12 years that you just did in school, and really have no real real world experience, of aside from just, professional, student, for whatever 24 years, right? And that's just not appealing to most people, in today's world where things are moving quickly. We have so much resources. So number one, you were exposed to that sales, somebody took you under your wing, and I love that you had a passion for it. There was something great about it. You studied it. You were like, you weren't just like, oh well, tell me what to say, I'll just say it. You were like, well, I want to be the best salesperson. Okay, I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm going to take it seriously. I'm going to take notes, and I'm going to do some studying, and then I'm going to come and I'm going to perform, and I'm going to do my sales. So that's really important, because I think a lot of people do sales and don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
And so
100%.
there's holes in their game, if you will, in sales, and and so they wonder why they can't achieve and things like that. They just don't take it seriously. Every single word counts. Everything, how you say it, the tonality, your context, your where you're coming from. And this is the second part that I love about it. Is the second part is that you went to seminary school, and that part of it, I'll quote Steve Jobs a little bit here, because a lot of times what he says is that you cannot connect the dots going forward, but you can connect the dots going backwards. You can see your dots, how it led you here. And so that second part, was about value. It was about value, ethics, and what are you here for? That's your value. You're here to serve people, to help people. And that and you said it right away. Right after that, you said, hey, I just wanted to help people. And so those two things really kind of lined up. Hey, I have a skill set here of how to promote a product or service, or help our company, help our business and grow. And then, hey, here's our core values to be able to drive that. Because you can be, so many stories, right, of people who are millionaires and tens and hundreds of millionaires but have no ethics, right? And so between the two of those is what I love about you as a person from the day that we met, whether it's virtual or not, that I felt that right away. Hey, there is a drive to be excellent, and then there's a drive to do it with a lot of human ethics and value along with it, because you cared literally about every appointment that we set, every lead that we generate, and how can we achieve a high level of growth through that. So I want to just thank you for that. Thank you for that story of being up to this point. So so now you've got this business here, and so like we got a little bit of gap here between that and South America, business partners, books, and serving hundreds and hundreds of people in their business. How now, you mentioned earlier it was a coach that kind of opened your mind about that, but you still had a journey to get from there to here in California to South America. Like just to highlight some of the transitions and how you felt about it, most importantly.
I feel like, I was saying everything, there's a season for everything. And I feel like, and I like to look, as I look back, and as I look back, I look at the different seasons of my life, and that kind of helped me paint like how I got here. So the first season for me was the season of like just realizing that it was possible. And that was like doing the freelancing work. And in the beginning, I had two business partners. I had Neil, who ran a company called PTBO Canada, and I had Nora, who ran a company called Studio N. And they formed a business called Studio PTBO, and it essentially was to share services, and they weren't doing much with it. It was kind of a skeleton company. It was registered and everything. And they were just doing it because Neil ran a media company and Nora ran a web and graphic design company. And I came on to help Neil do video stuff in the beginning. So Neil kind of gave me an opportunity. And then as time went, he's like, why don't we try to work with local businesses and get them into video and websites, to get them in like a full package. So I'm like, cool. And he's like, well, let's do this under the Studio PTBO umbrella. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I didn't even know that it even existed. Because I was working with PTBO Canada, the media company. And he's like, yeah. And so we started doing that, started working that. And about a couple months in order to kind of drive me to work harder, they're like, hey, we'll give you equity in the company. And they gave me equity on my birthday. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, that's sweet. I was so new in business. I don't think I really even knew what that was. I'm like, oh, cool. You mean I own a portion of this company? And they're like, yeah, you own 20%. And I was like, cool. Sounds good to me. And it kind of like just had me work harder on my craft, because I'm like, I want this to succeed because now I have equity and I want this thing to blow up. So, we were working as like 3 people, like, doing like web and graphic design, doing video, and then one of my really good friends, Bob Govro, introduced me to kind of the marketing world. So he was already working with Taki Moore in 2017 or 2018. And I went to a Taki Moore conference. I was doing some freelancing work for Bob under Studio PTBO umbrella. And Bob brought me to this conference and he paid for all my expenses. I don't know why he did this, maybe because I was running Zads at the time, but he paid for all my expenses. I met Taki for the first time. I learned from Taki. My mind was blown about all like this world. I just didn't know the database world. I didn't know the pipeline world. I didn't understand the marketing world. I kind of understood sales, but I didn't understand high ticket sales. And it kind of opened me up to another reality. I'm like, oh, this is a world of digital marketing. And I came back from that conference and, investing with Taki was a little too expensive for me because we weren't making a crazy amount of money. So I hired Kat Howell to teach me how to run ads, because I kept seeing her ads online. I'm like, oh, okay, I want to learn how to run ads better. I was already running ads, but I want to learn how to run ads better. So I hired her, worked with her directly, worked with her in her program. I joined her academy. I spent like $15K. And it was interesting because I just had this gut instinct in my stomach that I'm like, we got to learn marketing. We have to learn how to really do marketing on a deeper level. And at the time we had just gone into a season of pain. There was about 6 months where I didn't get paid. And at the beginning of the 6 months, I'm like, I know we don't have any money right now, but I believe this is the answer. And I convinced the 2 partners at the time to let us invest $15,000 into a coaching program. I'm like, I don't know why I feel like this is the right thing, but I feel like you have to trust me here. So they trusted me. They let me invest in the $15K into the program. And that kind of what skyrocketed the business, because then the pandemic hit the next year and we lost all of our video clients. I lost all of my brand deals that I was working on, like from I had a couple large brand companies I was working with. I was working on a really large deal with a mobile company out of Canada to run all their ads. And we lost it all overnight. And I was like, oh my God, all I had were these like local business clients that were running ads with us. So I doubled down on that. And at the time, Nora had already kind of like phased herself out of the business. And Neil was kind of like, it was kind of me and Neil running the show. But Neil was kind of hands off because he had PTPO Canada. Nora had some like things that were happening in her life that kind of took her away from the business. And it was kind of, I was left running the business. And we had already folded Studio M, the web and graphic design company, into Studio PTPO. And PTPO Canada was a separate entity and was still operating on its own. But we folded the web and graphic design into Studio PTPO. We became one agency. And just for clarity, it just made a lot more sense locally. And we had a moment where it's like she went off and like had to deal with personal stuff. Neil was still with me. And then Neil, when the book, we launched the book, and when the book launched about a week later, Neil's like, I think it's time for me to leave. I was like, what? Like, I was like, at this point, I'm like, this was probably about 1.5 years ago. And, I bought them both out of the business, and they kind of went their separate ways. And over the last 1.5 years, so we actually joined Taki's program in 2021. And I was with them for about 16 to 17 months. And now I'm with Sharon and his community and icons and everything. But I was with them for 16, 17 months. And that, like, I remember meeting with Bill Barron, and we were trying to work with everyone. We had one of our best months of like ever. Like, I think we hit like $160,000, like one of our best months ever. And I was miserable. I'm like, I'm dealing with every single client. I'm doing strategy on every single client. I'm working with real estate agents, coaches, local businesses. I was doing strategy on every single account, and we had like a bunch of accounts. And Bill's like, this is not sustainable. Like, you need to create a systematic process for how you onboard, and you need to understand your market better. And I'm like, well, we understand real estate pretty well. I guess we can, if we're going to niche down, we go into real estate. And a year and a half ago, we decided to shut everything down other than real estate agents and teams. So we did that, and all onboarding, and then quickly realized, I'm like me and Jairus quickly realized that our real estate processes sucked because we weren't like one focused, and it took us on a journey of like, then, trying to figure out how to do this real estate stuff really well, how to understand the industry, how to teach people that are problem aware that they have a problem, how to teach people that aren't problem aware that they have a problem. It took us down a journey. And then I met Sharon through Taki in September of last year. And, Sharon's like, hey, I have this Facebook group, like, we should start doing promo on it. I used to run this company called Kingston Lane. I didn't even know who Sharon was. He's really big in the real estate community. I had no idea who he was. I'm like, oh, this guy's kind of cool. I'm like, he's in a mastermind with me. I'm like, yeah, he's kind of he seems like a good dude. And we started like chatting, and I'm like, I love this guy. He's awesome. He's so passionate. He's like, we share a lot of the same ethos, and he's helped us drastically over the last year, kind of reinvent our product, understand the industry on a deeper level, has become a really good friend and mentor. And that kind of like, earlier this year, he's like, you guys need to rebrand Studio PTBO. Like, people don't understand what that is. And I'm like, I don't know what to change this to. So we toyed around with a bunch of names, and just in September 1st, we rebranded the company to Sheridan Street. And the reason we did that was because I was going through so many names. We were going through brainstorming brand names, and I wanted to name the company Sheridan, but it was already taken. So I decided, I'm like, why don't we call it Sheridan Street? And it's an ode to the past, because my old office used to be located at Sheridan Street, 430 Sheridan Street. It also means seeker in Gaelic, and that's essentially what we're doing. We're trying to seek out new conversations for real estate agents. And, it was an ode to the past for for everyone involved. And I feel like it better represents the type of clients we're looking to serve now too. So for me, the biggest thing though was the ode to the past, because I didn't want to forget where we came from, but I knew that we were a different company together. So every time I think about Sheridan Street, for me, it's like, look at where we've come to get to where we are today. And that was kind of the genesis of like the rebrand. And I wanted it to mean something. I'm not going to just rebrand and change the company to a different name. It has to mean something to me, because like you said, like, everything we do is so based around like me. Like, I want to humanize this space. I don't want clients to come in and feel like they're just another number. Like, I want them to feel like this is a partnership and we're on the same team and we're working towards building their business together. And like in a space that is so SaaS based, and it's like, pay this, $200 subscription and get leads. Like, I wanted to come into the space and provide a service and a solution that where people felt like, hey, if you needed help, we're going to be there. We're in your corner. And that was kind of like the element that was behind like where we're now at today. Like a lot of ups and downs, like I said earlier, last 3 weeks, like, just be completely transparent, have been super hard for us. Because, again, like we're just shifting, we're changing, we're trying to make things better. And it's like, but like you said, like, I really believe that you will not find a team that cares more than we do about you. And like, I'm just really want to humanize this space, just like humanizing leads. Like, I think that if we could humanize the experience, we can get our agents to humanize leads and stop looking at them as leads and start looking at them as like, your grandmother or your neighbor, or, they're a human being. And if we can humanize the relationship that we have with our clients, then maybe they can humanize the relationship they have with like online lead gen.
Yeah. Well, I love all of that, and all those people out there listening. If you ever wanted a masterclass in pivoting, your business, like, talk to Cody, right? Because you've just continually to evolve. as soon as something, comes, you really think deeply about it, like, hey, makes sense. The old ways don't always continue to work. And as we continue on with our economy, our real estate market, and the tech market overall, the marketing, market, the online marketing space, it's continue to evolve, and either you find your niche and you evolve with it that works for what your core value is, then otherwise you just get left behind. Just like you said, you could have been just like the other 100 businesses that when COVID happened went out of business because they didn't pivot, they didn't know how to pivot, they didn't know where to go, they didn't want to stick with it for whatever reason, right? And you've done that already numerous times, and it's we become more resilient, and you get to do that. You can, like, hey, then the possibilities are open, because when you're more resilient, you have more possibilities of which way you can go, as opposed to being like, something happens, you don't know, you get stuck, you get scared, you shut down, you don't do anything, right? So definitely appreciate that part of it. And also I want you to talk a little bit more specifically about Sheridan Street and what you guys offer to the real estate space and all that kind of stuff. But you and I are in the same mindset, because we are always looking to do relational transactions, relational, where other people are, hey, how can I do more transaction, and forget about the people? And it's very rare for an agency to want to do more relational, relationships, which is what, I love about, you and what you do. It brings me whole, because that's how I operate. It doesn't matter about anything else. If I do the relationship right, in one form or another, in one way or another, and sooner or later, like, that turns into abundance for me. And so the more that I give out, okay, it's just a matter of time of when it comes back to me. And so I think you hit the nail on the head there, with like driving a relational aspect to our business in real estate for real estate agents, because they're working their ass off and they're trying to be relational, but it takes time, it takes patience, it takes a lot of brain space to, like, hey, how can I make this relationship better? What does my client want that I can give them? Because when you start thinking in that sense, then it's a lot of creativity work that you have to do, solving their problems, solving things that they never even thought possible, to get them a home that they never thought possible, and all that kind of stuff. So let everybody know, like, okay, more specifically, as of today, how your business works, who would benefit from your business, and how can they become more successful in their business by using your agency?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to chat about this. Our agency really looks to work with like full-time and real estate agents and teams that want to grow, that realize that growth requires action and growth requires momentum. And we essentially, like, whenever somebody gets on the phone with us and they're like, well, who do you compare yourself to? I'm like, the closest thing I can really compare myself to is Zillow, but a branded Zillow, meaning, like, rather than Zillow owning the database, you own the database. Like, you own the IDX search, the names, the email addresses, the phone numbers are owned by you. So we generate leads on Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, TikTok. So to fill the funnel, we also have a partnership with an insurance agency that gets us access to verified homeowner data. We then focus also on lifetime nurture. So ringless voicemails, text messages, emails, things we call deal of the week, market updates. We just launched something new called email sprinkler, meaning, like, you write an email, we send it for you. We're trying to make the relationship as easy as possible for you, because we understand that, if you're a full-time agent, like, you're on the road a lot, you're constantly, writing offers, you're doing a lot, that's part of the reason why we try to make this a partnership and not just seen as a vendor. If you're looking for somebody to partner in your business, then, like, that's the type of people we look to work with, where it's like, hey, I don't really necessarily have the skills, or I don't know how to hire the right people. Because in order to build what we built for you, like it's going to cost you, like you need a full-time in-house marketer, and you also need a full-time in-house inside sales agent in order to do what we do. And that's $100,000, like in order to get two really good people. And if not more, the in-house media buyer is going to be 75K. Like you're just not going to get an in-house media buyer that's good for less than 75,000. It's not going to happen. So something new that we're doing as well, because we're realizing that I've been on this journey of like trying to close the sales gap. So something new that we're doing is we're now placing, I'm shifting our company to not just do full-time media buying, but also to hire, train, retain, and onboard a dedicated inside sales agent for every single client that comes through our door. Some people want to use our call center team. They want to use our power dialing software, which is amazing. We use a program called Vici Dial that allows us to dial leads fast. But we're placing dedicated agents now that their entire job is to actually dial the front end leads, so all the leads that are generated on Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, TikTok. But their job is also to work the IDX search. So if you have thousands of leads set up on search, like property searches, and you're not calling them, then this is a great opportunity that there's probably money sitting on the table. If you don't have an ISA, at least texting them and emailing them saying, hey, we saw you viewed 123 Banana Street. Do mornings or afternoons work better in order to go see the property? It actually fits your criteria very well. So we train, we retain, we hire a dedicated inside sales agent to call, to text, both what we call your front end leads and your back end leads that have been set up on searches that are actively searching for properties. So we're trying to bring everything around, like we're trying to create a full, we call it a dedicated appointment engine that gets you appointments, that gets you live transfers, but also gets you in-person showings now with our new dedicated appointment engine. So whether you're looking to fill the front end of the funnel, meaning like, hey, I want to have access to eventually talk to more people, we call that pipeline business. And then there's potentially people in your setup in your searches. So whether you're using Follow Up Boss, KV Core, we're now linking all of those programs into our program to effectively communicate. So to have the dedicated agent work out of one system, but looking at your Follow Up Boss searches and then calling them through our database. So we're now syncing everything to essentially help close the gap for a lot of our clients as well. So that's kind of a high level overview on what we do, where it's like, if I could break it down into three things, it's fill the funnel, nurture the leads, have a dedicated agent that actually dials your leads. Now, as far as I'm aware, we're the only agency that places a dedicated agent. There are VA companies out there that do that, but they don't do the marketing. There are marketing companies that don't place dedicated agents. They will generally have a call center team. So we're now, hybrid marketing and VA talent company. Something we hire majority of our agents either out of Latin America. So they speak English and they speak Spanish. So if you're a Spanish speaking real estate agent, working with us is a no-brainer, because like all of my call center agents are bilingual. So a lot of when agents and teams come to us and they're like, I have a Spanish speaking person on my team. Well, like this is a no-brainer for you. Let us help you hire a dedicated agent. Let us run ads for you in English and Spanish, and let's dominate the market. Because I recently heard at the NAREP event, so one of our clients, Judy and Mike, invited me to speak at their event. 70% of home buyers from the age 2020 to 2040 in the US are going to be Hispanic. 70%. So if you're looking to grow your business and you're thinking about how do I grow, you need to be thinking about adding buyer reps that can speak Spanish or adding listing reps that can speak Spanish, because 70% of your marketplace is going to be Hispanic, meaning they're going to speak Spanish. And it's an untapped market across the nation that a lot of Spanish speaking realtors I speak to are not even remotely tapping into this market. But from the next 20 years, it's going to be a market where they have one of the largest buying capitals. And if you're not thinking about if you're looking to grow and you're not thinking about a Spanish campaigns and you're not thinking about serving the Spanish market, you're just going to miss out on massive opportunity in the online space.
Yeah, and in big metro areas, just on that last point there, on our big metro area here in Southern California, we're so close to Mexico, so we have a lot of Hispanic people. If you work in the San Diego market, Like that's huge, So
Yeah.
if you live and work in the San Diego market, like call Cody right away,
Yeah.
it's to capture that. And you already know, if you live in the San Diego market, you already know there's lots of Spanish speaking, and they're very um affluent in the sense that they know the value of family
Mhm.
and they know the value of a home.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they'll do whatever it takes for their extended family to have a home, even if they have 2 or 3 generations, of family members living in the same home to get started. Like they'll do whatever it takes, and it doesn't matter if, my aunt lives in the same house as me, like they're multi-generational, families. And from there, they can build, a real estate, portfolio, if you will, of homes that you can buy
Totally.
for your family members. I mean, I can attest to that. Is one of my mom's lifelong dream is that all of us kids all own our own home. And this is
Yeah.
one of the reasons that she got into real estate, 20, 30 years ago. Okay, so that she could see that happen, and it came true. Like, we all lived in the same house. And then as we left, we got to she gave us the opportunity and the mindset that, hey, you can buy your own home. I can
Love it.
imagine some of the people I talk to, they're like, they don't even, they're completely given up and accepted the fact that they can buy a home. And that's
Yeah.
very sad. That's sad to me, because I think every single person can buy a home.
And and if I can speak to realtors really quickly, it is your job and it like to educate the marketplace. Like there are people that don't, that they're like, the majority of people get their information from friends and family. And I just really want every realtor listening to this podcast to understand that the vast majority of the marketplace thinks they need 20% down in order to buy a home. They just do. Like it's, there is, like, that there are things like creative financing. Like we know this, like there is money available to people in the marketplace in order to own a home. And it's like, this is, I believe so firmly in like you said, relational transactions. Like you owe it to your clients and you owe it to every single person you speak to look at every single option in order to get them into a home. And if you enter every conversation in that way, where it's like, I'm going to do everything and I know you do this, Leo, like if I need to find them a solution. Like if you go in with a solution focused mindset, it's like there's for the most part, there's always something that can be done. And if there's not, at least you can point them in the direction of somebody else who can help them rather.
Yeah, and that's really the end game, is to help that person, and I get really passionate about this subject because 20% is great if you have the 20%, but in today's world, a $800,000 home, $1 million home, 20% is $200,000. $200,000 cash just to put down on a home. I have people who have 100,000, a little less than 100,000. They've been saving it for the last 8 years, or 5 years, or whatever it is, to get this $100,000. Well, if they're on the same trajectory, okay, it's going to take them another 5 to 7 years
Yeah.
to save another $100,000. Well, in another 5 to 8 years, okay, that same $1 million home, okay, is worth 1.4. Now you're just chasing this price point that you cannot catch up with the inflation of how the home prices are going up. So you really just shot yourself in the foot, right? Okay.
Mhm.
As opposed to if you can buy that home for, with $100,000 down, okay, you pay PMI, you pay an extra $200 a month to $300 a month to have that home. Well, now you're going to earn that $300,000-$400,000 in equity in your home just by
Totally.
paying a few $100 a month, right?
Yeah.
That's
I think
that's 1,000,000% worth it.
totally. And I think people like, real estate agents, like you're doing yourself a disservice by not explaining this to your clients, where it's like, when you talk about down payment and it's like, they want an $800,000 home, but they have $100,000 down. Like you owe it to them to speak to them about the options that they have. And one of the best things, I was interviewed on a podcast, Leo, the other day, and I know that you do this really well. We talk often about speed to lead, and somebody said to me that how they see speed to lead is speed to process. So it's like, and because like he was talking to his, he was like, give me 1 second. I have somebody who just needs to chat quick. He's like, 1 minute. And I hear him on the phone, and he's like, give me 1 second. I'm going to create a three-way chat with me and my mortgage lender. I'm like, okay, you didn't just hand them your mortgage broker's phone number. He's like, no, I want to make sure that this person I spoke with actually gets taken care of, that they don't get dropped by potentially by the lender because the lender's too busy. So I can follow up tomorrow to see where it is. I'm like, that is speed to process. The part of the reason that people are losing out is I think it was NAR that ranked responsiveness as one of the, I think 64% of people that chose the realtor ranked responsiveness as one of the main reasons why they ended up moving forward. I think it was like 64% of people. So it's like that speed to process is so important. Like making them feel like you actually give a damn is so important. It's like handing somebody a phone number. It's like, call this number. Like, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm like, your leads, your clients, they're busy. Like, they're like, you need to do, if you want the paycheck, you need to do the work to make sure that the process goes smoothly. So I heard that the other week, and that's that terminology of like speed to process. And I was like, I just fell in love with it because I know that you and I chat a lot about automations and processes, that I just think that if they just like were to write down step 1, I do this. Step 2, I do this. Step 3, I do this. And they just did that every single time, they would close way more transactions because they would have accountability, not only for themselves, but for the people that they bring into their process.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot to be learned from the average agent's perspective on how they do that. They don't really even have a process. They feel like every single one they have to recreate a recipe, every single time, and it's just not the case. And on top of that, they don't even communicate that process with their clients, right? Totally. A lot of times I'll get on the phone with them and say, hey, listen, it's great. I know what you're looking for. I get to hear out, what it is your situation is, why you want to buy, where you want to buy, how much, and that kind of stuff. Well, every single one of my successful clients all go through this process. Can I share it with you? Mm-hmm. Right. And then instantly they feel like, oh my God, there's a process. Like I don't have to like reinvent everything. I'm not, some snowflake that, that we have to reinvent the whole wheel just to, totally. Accommodate, because, 80-90% of it is very standardized. So but the communication is huge. Be able to get the communication, right? And number 2, they have that process to be able to share with their clients and follow through on it. And you build tremendous amount of trust because you share with them the process and you follow through on the process. You say, hey, whatever Cody said, whatever Leo said, it happened. Right. So next time I tell them this is going to happen, they're going to expect like, oh, this is going to happen. So we have so many agents that I talk to that are struggling because they're like, oh, my clients don't want to do this. They don't trust me. Well, you've just completely lost your process, lost your control of how you can, give the best service and experience possible. So, so totally agree. Yeah. So, your company, I understand initially for most agents, they understand, hey, I want to get leads. How do I get leads? And then once they've gotten leads, hey, how do I nurture the leads because they're not ready right now? How do I stay on top of mine? How do I give them information? How do I give them education? Okay, so that when they're ready, we can take them through the process of conversion. Okay, so those 3 big pieces, you guys have done an extremely great job on that. Okay, but then now you're taking it a step forward, a step higher for agents who want to do even better than that, meaning have their own dedicated person that will speak their own language with their own scripts and talk specifically about how their process works to help, clients to get them the appointments. And once you're in an appointment, you're already very warm. Okay. And so you guys are just taking that standardized level foundations of lead gen to conversion, and then you guys are elevating that with more of the nurturing aspects with either email, text, or education, or just asking simple questions, email campaigns and things like that. And then adding another piece of the dedicated calling, or ISA is what we call it, agent that will call on your behalf and fully only dedicated on your business and calling people.
Exactly. And one of the things, if you were to you build this in-house, you would need to have a power dialer. Now, one of the issues with a lot of the power dialers out there, so we use a company called Vici Dial. So my guys can dial 3, 4, 10 leads at a time, where it's like majority, like, because we use a predictive dialing system, where majority of lead, like phone burner, for example, will only dial 1 lead at a time. So, when you work with us, especially even with the dedicated ISA, they're gonna be able to get to people faster than any other phone system out there, because we're using a predictive dialing system versus like a power dialer. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, I think all of these pieces take a lot of time. I came from tech originally and have had over 15 years of experience in it. And it just takes time. Like you just got to dive deep in it. But while you're doing that, you can't do the sales that you normally do. You can't be in 2 places at the same time. You can't be thinking tech all day long. All of a sudden, go talk to a client and all of a sudden switch your brain, to doing that. That switching, is going to just kill you, because you're not going to be able to do enough sales. And so you guys have taken, away all of that, heavy lifting, to a extremely high degree of excellence, and all the systems that's needed, because if we add up all the pieces that's involved, like we would completely lose count, right? So Cody, I want to thank you for all your time here today, and sharing your story. I think a lot of people will get a lot out of that as we get into more and more people who want to build their own business and how to actually do that. We're gonna put in, you're on social media and all the regular channels, Instagram, LinkedIn. Put a comment down here if you want to reach out to Cody directly. I'm sure he'll be able to get back to you right away. If you want to know more about Sheridan Street and all the services that we talked about, please reach out to me if you want to talk. I'm happy to, we can even do a 3-way with Cody and talk about experiences and what he offers. But as always, we want to close out by sharing a quote that Cody has got for us. And why don't you go ahead and tell everybody what that quote is, from who, and what that means to you?
Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, I went to a Brendan Burchard conference right before the pandemic, and there was a bunch of quotes, but this quote for me meant so much. And I'll read the quote and I'll tell you why. At the end of the day, at the end of our lives, we all ask, did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? This quote is so important to me, because I think that we get so caught up in the day-to-day of running our businesses that we don't stop enough. And I'm guilty of this even myself, when things feel like they're on fire, to ask myself, did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? And if we just ask ourselves that question daily, I just find it puts us in such a totally different mindset and framework for our daily lives, that it's like, it kind of alleviates a lot of the worry that we have, where it's like, in the grand scheme of things, when I'm facing what I feel like turmoil, or I feel like I'm facing hardship, at the end of my life, I'm not even going to remember this. What I'm going to remember is, did I live? Did I love? And did I matter? And that's, really important to me. It's like, did I live my life to my fullest? Did the people around me know that I love them? Did I show them that I care? And did I matter to them? And the only way you do that is through relationships. So, at the end of my life, at the end of every day, specifically at the end of every day, I try to think, did I live? Did I love? Did I matter?
Cody, I just can't say enough what an example you're setting for everybody in our network and beyond. And I absolutely think that you have lived a full life at such a young age. And I love you, brother, and you matter to me. And I look forward to talking to you next time and kind of see what the next evolution of you looks like, and catch up with you another time.
Likewise, friend. Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye, everybody. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure that you subscribe to receive notifications of all new episodes, and please give us a positive review. And if you want to hang out with us live, check out our YouTube channel, where you can continue the conversations with me and our guests.